croissant in, did ya?
I did. An almond croissant. Or as I called it, a croissant, because I'm cultured. And koala's asleep.
Yikes.
I mean, so am I at this point, but hey!
It's fine. All right, we're into draft right now at the very least. Now, I do believe we have had a glimpse of the future, at least when it comes to this draft. So we have an idea of kind of what to expect as far as things go. Nothing too out of the ordinary. If I recall from bans, it was a set Talon and the Volibear getting knocked away, and then Machi getting rid of that Twisted Fate, then Italy. We'll see what their final ban is going to be here. It's actually going to be the Senna, so I do believe I think this is the draft that we did get to see off screen. Yeah, it is appearing. We're going to be running through this really quick.
But after such a long pause, I'm not sure if they will change the draft or allow the teams to change the draft, because if the draft was done so long ago, the teams actually have a lot of time to plan the game. It might not be fair, so there might be some changes. So let's see what's the decision made.
What would you prefer, actually? What would you prefer in that instance? Would you just like a new draft entirely, or?
Normally, teams would ask for a new draft.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, we do see. We're going to have PK back on the Ornn once again. We're going to see
looks
the Jhin.
similar. Yeah.
It looks very similar, so it's going to be Bruce on the Jhin. Does mean we're going to get ourselves Gangplank for Hanabi.
Yeah, this GP, of course, fantastic matchup into the Ornn individually, just outscales him, holds him in the side lane, all of that good stuff, and also offers a lot of disengage to the comparative engage potential of the Ornn. You can also just sit AFK top lane, contribute to Skirmish's bot that this Kalista lane will so often trend into, and suddenly the map is basically 4.5 versus 4, while the top laners are chilling up in their lane.
Do see here, it is going to be, though, for Unified once again, going to be that Kalista, so again, trying to be a bit aggressive when it comes to that lane, but the Thresh is going to be banned out. Gemini going to be on the Lee Sin. So now to see here from PSG and Machi what we can look to expect. We're going to see an Azir again once more for tank, or are we just going to see something new come out of that mid lane, maybe try and switch things up a bit after a little bit of, I have no idea what's going on in that player cam at the very least from Gemini, but I don't
you
really
gotta
want to know.
do two now, Opal. Get in the zone.
gotta stretch out a little bit after a little bit of a pause of that long, of that nature.
At least today wasn't as intensive on my back. Well, I hope.
Yeah.
Look at the draft, we can tell that Machi is going to go for the team composition again. So PSG, they need to remember how they lost the first game. They need to know that they have been taking unnecessary team fights again, a team fight composition. So this game, if they really want to win, they need to make good use of the Azir lane pressure and the GP outscaling on so hard. So if they still go for the team fight, they are still going to lose this game easily to Machi. They really need to change something here.
Yeah, thank you for bringing us back into game after Opal and I went on a bit of a tangent there, but yeah, we love to see it. You know, tank on the Azir. He made a couple of questionable plays in game one, but he did pull it together when it mattered.
So this game is the same, Orianna versus Azir. I believe it's still Azir has the upper hand, but he has to play with the teammate. Right, Azir versus Orianna is going to be 5.5 to 4.5. I believe Azir has a little bit of edge. And then for the bot lane, I believe Kalista is still very, very strong early game compared to Jhin. And then we have the GB versus Ornn, which is free scaling. And then in Graves, I believe Riva will still do very good against Gemini early game. So PSG really needs to avoid those crazy team fight that Machi wants.
Yeah, exactly that actually, and you mentioned back after game one that if the Azir ever gives any footing over to the Orianna, the matchup tilts so heavily in favor of this Ori, and that does mean that we have to be conscious of Tank not making the same misstep he made around the 10-minute mark, and we need to be conscious of the rest of PSG when it comes to pushing out their lead, pressuring it. You said it yourself, they've drafted into more of an easy to execute kind of 5v5 comp now, but will we see them be as proactive as they were pre-10 minutes in the previous game?
Yeah, I think this game, what they should do is similar as the first 10 minutes of game 1, where PSG will just win the laning phase, and then Graves will be free to roam into the opponent jungle. He can do anything he wants, he can solo the dragon with the lane advantage. But this time, what's different is because we have a GP rather than Camille. Every time the Ons roam, the GP should just use the ulti to stop them from engaging his teammate, and he will just stay in the top lane to farm and skill.
Well, we're going to get ourselves into a black screen, it seems, here. I'm a little spooked. All right, we're into game. I'm happy to see it. Who needs the cinematics when we're actually getting ourselves into the matchup? Thank you, Charlie, for joining us here on the draft. We will see you in that post-game. Briz, it seems to be that me and you this weekend have been... We've had ourselves what we would call the long games, to say the very least, and to say the least, Machi and PSG. We expected long series. You know what? They just wanted to really live up to the expectation that we're going the distance overall. And PSG is, in particular, looking to tie up this series and make it a 1-1.
Yeah, definitely do look at PSG as being on the back foot, not only because they were down a game to begin with here, but also just because they're the ones that have had to change up their game plan completely relative to how it was in that initial game. Machi again drafting for largely the same composition, in fact the exact same top side, those top 3 champions that really hammered home the core of that teamfight-centric comp, again coming through for them. But now we find ourselves in a potential kind of coin flip late game teamfight period, where this early game, while pretty active, shouldn't be too important for either team.
Well, do see here, PSG are the ones that are actually going to go and get a little bit of an invade off. Of course, you have a Braum on your team, so it's usually feels good if you're able to get an invade yourself. And if anyone tries to stop you, quick tag there with the Winter's Bite, and not a whole lot you'll be able to do. So for River, he'll have that opportunity to at least have full control toward the bot side. Don't know what Kaiwing was aiming for. Maybe he clipped the mini-map, who knows. Gemini, though, if he passed down toward the bot side of the map, does mean there's potential here that River's going to get a 3 buff.
Yeah, again, Gemini just losing out on effective time. Just being 3 buffed, probably being 3 crabbed if this Kalista Braum early bully lane does get some footing down. Because in isolation, Kalista destroys Jhin and Braum destroys Nautilus. 2v2s often don't play out quite as linearly based on, you know, how a couple of trades go and the fact that Gemini is on the bottom side of the map for his initial clear. But at the same time, really, really good execution by PSG when it comes to drafting winning lanes for River to play around again.
We'll do see, though, at least Machi are able to get that early push off, so they're going to be able to crash that. And you already see pings coming out from Gemini, wants to at least obtain this scuttle on the bot side of the map. And it does look like River's going to at least respect that as he just goes up toward the top side. Gemini going to try maybe go for an invade, but again, that bot side jungles are being cleared.
Yeah, could loop around for a gank onto tank, but I assume the Azir is going to be a little bit more forthcoming about how safe he's going to play this one out. Yeah, honestly, you're trading a counter jungle on a Krug camp for a counter jungle on your blue buff early. I wouldn't take that any day of the week, but Gemini will take what he can get. Gonna lose probably top crab and maybe even bottom crab, depending on how River wants to play this, or if Gemini chooses to fish for a bot gank before his crab rotation.
We'll see here. Gemini going to have that quick little trade there with Kaiwing as they now have full info that the Lee Sin is onto the bot side of the map. Gemini just looks like he just wants to try and path toward that top side, maybe clear out what Gemini's left behind. And again, River will just continue to kind of power farm in this matchup, and that's kind of what we expect, and it just keeps Gemini behind.
Yeah, pings are coming out towards the enemy Raptor camp, so they have a good indication that River is on the invade, as he so rightly should be. I don't expect too much action for the foreseeable future. Again, we're looking at the Kalista Braum as being that lane-dominant duo, but otherwise it's just scaling, 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 with action happening only around the junglers.
And you see Tank really hugging this side of the map, is going to pop it, but again, has barely any mana, does get the shuffle on over. Gemini can't actually finish off the kill, as Tank will get himself back to safety without having to burn his flash.
Yeah, pre-6 Orianna Azir, not a whole lot of playmaking, but the junglers are still fishing for it. If Lee Sin can open up with a Q, if Lee Sin can actually get down his burst before the Graves has a chance to disengage with Smokescreen, perhaps we see a trade, but Graves right now, much faster clear, much more gold effectively, and just all-around better dueling with the current state of how this game is playing out.
And with this too happening, where Gemini decided to show himself so early down on the bot side of the map, it's pretty much allowed Hanabi in his gangplank form to be happy not having to be camped here by the enemy jungle, as most of the time when we see him on the champ, he usually is giving up first blood somewhere at the point. There's still that opportunity, but at least that early first 6 levels seems to be rather quiet for him as he continues just to try and poke down PK now with the pickup of the Sheen.
Yeah, to be fair, pretty hard to get First Blood 1v1 against the Ornn, considering Gemini spent most of this game down bot. But also consider that at 6 minutes 30, 1 minute from now, we'll have PK ding over to level 6, get access to the Spell Shard for the Ignite pickup, and that's where we see the Ornn actually dish out a fairly hefty amount of kill threat for what is essentially a tank champion.
Oh, Gemini going to get caught on his back as River heavily aggressive, looking for a dive here, and now that's going to force Gemini to be all the way back. Also gives information now to PSG, as they can go ahead and take down the first dragon of the game, and Gemini, again, just on the back foot because of some good ward coverage.
Yeah, because of that early pathing from Gemini and the choice he made to actually clear out the Gromp yet again, I believe the Wolves as well, it meant he took the delayed reset. I still have no idea how the conversion on that E over the Wolf from River became an actual interrupt on the Lee Sin recall in the Tribush. That was very ambitious from River, but all around fantastic reading from him. And yeah, at the moment, jungle gap yet again, but we saw in game 1, it doesn't matter how far you step behind Gemini, as long as his lanes play it out correctly.
Oh, Hanabi ends up using the orange, able to get himself back to safety, and like you mentioned, Ignite in PK's pocket, so aiming for a kill here up against the Pirate. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the case, but for now, Gemini also going to path on over. That control ward, though, is going to keep Hanabi relatively safe, and still should have the wave clear for this. We'll see, though, as River is going to step nearby, waiting into that Tri-Brush, and now River going to show himself as that's the engage going in, and doesn't even protect Hanabi. Hanabi just gets absolutely obliterated, and that's going to be first blood going on over to Machi. River wants to try and trade back a kill, does have the collateral damage available, but needs to back off. Gemini, though, tags him with the Q, but can't do much else without that ultimate being unlocked.
Yeah, and actually the 1v1 there from PK into Hanabi forced the flash. Didn't quite force the cannon barrage, but that loop gank from Gemini came through. It looked a little bit shaky because River was waiting for the counter, but ultimately it didn't matter. This Ornn is bulky as hell, this Ornn is big as hell, and PK, we said, he's had such a good latter half of the split relative to our expectations from back in spring. And as well as that, Charlie mentioned, he has the ability to turn any top lane matchup into a clear 50-50. And right now, Hanabi on the receiving end of that.
And I feel like I caster cursed Hanabi once more. I said, hey, you know, early levels hasn't given up, you know, first blood yet. And he gets tagged down there by Gemini. Unfortunately, River not able to intercept that Q from the Lee Sin. Graves doesn't really have a whole lot of CC in his kit to even begin with to try and turn that around. And there you go, first blood on the map here for Machi, and gives tempo back over to Gemini when he was starting to fall behind River. Do note, though, objective-wise, they still were able to pick up the first dragon. There's going to be second Drake coming on in about 2.5 minutes. And now we do have Shelly entering in onto the fray on the top side of the map. Bruce, though, let's talk about him. This matchup alongside Koala going up against Kaiwing and Unified, actually doing not too half bad, isn't falling behind like we saw in the first game.
Yeah, this is actually going much, much smoother for him, largely because Koala hasn't actually roamed yet, and of course you expect the Nautilus to move now that you mentioned the Shelly is coming up fairly soon. But all in all, very happy with how Bruce has played this one out. Probably just coincidence, or not coincidence, direct correlation in the fact that Kaiwing's on the Braum, so there's no threat of a Thresh hook there if Bruce does want to be a little bit more greedy when it comes to farming or trading.
Let's see, you mentioned there's your roams coming out from the bot side of PSG. Show themselves mid. Koala does the same as Bruce is still down in his lane, would like to try and pick up another item before the fight. Gemini is spotted out by a ward, so River does know that this Lee Sin is nearby and maybe looking to try and bait this out. Said though, Shelly is going to be started here by PSG in the eyes though of Machi still.
Yeah, definitely a little bit shaky for PSG to commit to this, but at the same time, what response do you have? Shockwave, depth charge, yes, but it's 4v5 right now. Bruce is not here.
Shockwave is available, though, for Mission. If he can get himself within range, putting down the ball, able to get some decent damage, and just using that as a threat not to allow that Rift Tail to go on over. You do see two-man Shockwave going to land. River able to get himself back to Safety with the collateral damage. Meanwhile, top side, Hanabi lets go of the cannon barrage. He'll get taken down. Mission, though, will fall. And Unified on the hunt here for Bruce. Cannot finish off the kill, though, as Bruce is able to get himself back to safety with the heal and flash.
Actually a big fan of what PSG did there. They had the onus on the rotation, yes, but they didn't commit for that movement until they had the cannon barrage available again. Once that GP ult was ready to turn the fight in their tide, popped it, did it, dropped it. Absolutely beautiful teamfight execution against a composition that seemed to have the edge. Tank split the fight fairly well. It was a little bit weird. He could have put the Azir ult the other way instead of trying to insect the Orianna, but end of the day, happy days. Didn't even notice how close River was to dropping to that Call of the Forged God. Oof.
Pretty close. Luckily for River, he's able to get himself back to safety. It is a 1-for-1. Shelly, though, does go in favor of PSG. Maybe we'll start to see that being used over toward Hanabi to try and unlock him in this lane, because unfortunately the Gangplank now starting to have a bit of a rougher time as Gemini puts a lot more attention toward the top side of the map, knowing that Bruce and Koala are able to keep themselves relatively safe during this early game it has seen.
Yeah, pretty big fan of the fact we see Mission just being fairly active when it comes to rotating, pushing in waves, picking up farm left and right. Yes, it means Bruce will be a little bit starved, but it is showing the Machi are being super conscious of where they're moving their pieces on the map while this Jhin is recalling for another item spike. Can they get this Drake with the current things in their inventory? Probably not. They all spike really hard on one item, but it's still a very valid possibility as PSG look to contest.
Already see there, getting that pressure down toward the bot side of the map. Gemini is laying in wait, though, and we'll see if he decides to go over the wall. That's actually a beautiful hook coming out from Koala. Unify going to get caught out. There's your Dragon's Rage, and there's the kill going on over to Gemini, as this man is all over the map, even after a rough start up against River on this Graves. The Lee Sin now 3-0-0.
Just greedy rotation from the PSG bot lane, and the action doesn't look to be over yet. We have Forged God up, ready to prey on tank, but because Kaiwing has to reset, Machi can take this Drake for free, pushing it out of that Dragon Soul around 22-minute kind of time period where PSG can play for, and now evening up the playing field as we look towards an Infernal Soul.
And we'll take a quick look back here, all set, ready, and Koala able to land that dredge line. Very important and great to see out of him so far here in Game 2.
The irksome thing here is that you don't need to do this. You have GP ult coming up fairly soon for PSG. You have Herald that you can pop mid to cheese prio and then use that priority to move.
Ooh, Tank with a risky flash is able to get himself back to safety, though. Koala's dredge line just misses the Emperor. His Mission looking for the kill here after using that shockwave before getting his Ludens.
Yeah, definitely just be super conscious of the fact Hanabi still has his
Gemini,
though it means that's a fight.
Getting hyper aggressive. Current Call's going to come out. Kaiwing's going to try and soak up what he can. Mission without his shockwave, though. Not a whole lot of real follow-up there for Machi as they're going to go ahead and disengage.
Yeah, just waiting on Hanabi to pull the trigger here on something. PK, I believe, did a backwards on charge there. It looked kind of cool, but it was, yeah, kind of sad in the end. That being said, this Herald use is kind of inefficient because there's no neutral to actually get with this priority, but it does funnel some plates back into the Azir's pockets at least.
There, Tank's going to be at least happy, gets himself a couple hundred gold. But this is kind of ringing very similar to what we saw during our first game where we kind of had, you know, PSG striking first on the map. But Machi, these kind of scrappy skirmishes starting to go a little bit more in their favor, and whatever kind of slowdown they were able to find up against Gemini, he's been able to fight through on the fact that he is 3-0-0 on this Lee Sin. I would like to see, though, some of these kills starting to translate into the lanes, because we all know what happens with a Lee Sin if he's getting all this gold early and not shifting it into other members on your team.
Especially if he just rushes the Knight's Vow like we've seen Gemini opt into time and time again. Looking across from this Machi lineup, though, I'm a little bit concerned for PSG unless River does that. Cool. You mentioned Lee Sin scaling. Lee Sin is the only member of Machi that gets strictly outscaled. Ornn can kind of go blow for blow with GP when it comes to team fighting. Of course, 1v1 is entirely in GP's favor. But Azir, is essentially parity with Orianna, while Jhin massively outscales Kalista. Unified can't play these team fights. We said in the previous game, Orianna just shockwaves you, Jhin will just 4-tap you, and it really is a difficult scenario for the PSG marksman, essentially their franchise player at this point, to navigate these fights at all.
Oh boy. Hanabi able to clear out the wave, but unfortunately that dive is still going to ring true as he gets bounced around left and right, tries to get the flash out. He's going to want that one back. That's another kill going on over to Gemini's. PK drops a quick dance over in top lane on Hanabi's grave.
He flashed with the melee auto attack following him. Any top lane player from Season 5 onwards can tell you that happened. So I don't know about this, Hanabi. I think the tilt is maybe starting to manifest. It looked cool. It looked like, oh, maybe I can get out. But then, yeah, quick little kick from Gemini there to really seal the deal. Machi now, cracking open that top lane tier 1, can start to make proactive rotations, especially around this Drake in 90 seconds time.
And it comes back to this idea of, you know, hey, we want to put Hanabi onto this kind of strong split lane side push. Unfortunately, now he finds himself again 0-2, 0-3. He's going to be slowed down, and Gemini, this man keeps trying to go for plays. River, though, might be able to tag him down. Gemini going down low. Mission able to keep him safe. A collateral damage that's way late. Unified, though, very aggressive underneath the tower. Bruce, though, able to sidestep away from the Braum Q. They're able to lock down in onto the Nautilus. That's going to be the TP used here by PK. Unified gets himself back over to safety. It's a two-man shockwave coming out from Bruce. In comes Tank on the Azir. Not able to find it. Koala, though, with that dredge line, able to seal the deal onto Kaiwing. River gets himself back to safety. Gemini's returned into the fight from base, and now Tank's going to be the main target. Gets kicked up, gets taken down as Gemini finds himself his 5th kill of the game.
Quick and easy kick out of that shifting sands. The Azir goes for the escape and gets sent to the grave. 30 seconds on this Drake with the entirety of PSG bar 1 dropping there. It does mean Machi have the edge. I liked what Unified did here. I did not like that Q from Kaiwing, but honestly, it doesn't make a difference. Just PSG fighting off way more than they can chew, not respecting the shockwave, not respecting the Ornn, not respecting the fact that Lee Sin has had ample time to reset, go back to base, get back in this fight, and PSG again just disrespecting Machi all the way down.
And speaking of kind of stepping up right now in this series, Gemini on fire. They said, "Kay, you took my graves, well, I'll bring out the Lee Sin and make it work." Bruce looking rather well himself, not being caught out, was able to sidestep away from that Winter's Bite from Kaiwing, and firing on all cylinders here, it seems, for Machi. This is the team that's historically known to have rough games after in-game pauses, and the fact that they are again able to defy that story like we saw back on Friday and take it here to PSG in the grand finals of summer. It's so nice to see out of this squad.
Oh no, he has 5 kills and he's rushing the Knight's Vow again.
Okay. Gemini, be greedy. Give me some of that lethality. Do something. Don't Knight's Vow again. And it kind of comes down to this. It's the play. Well, there we go. Shelly's going to go and get themselves a quick charge in through that mid lane. It does allow PSG at least to open up the midsection of the map. A little unfortunate there. Koala was not able to get the auto attack down in time. Meanwhile, though, Bruce able to get solo gold onto this Jhin from the bot lane tower. So I think, Machi, you're still okay with this trade.
And this is where I think PSG's comp does lack a little something when it comes to engages, essentially. You're banking on Tank getting a really beautiful flank into shifting sands. Okay, disengage GPL. Nice, we love it. Yeah, honestly, that's the name of the game for PSG. Disengage, disengage, disengage. Front to back team fight. Create space with GP, with Braum, for your carries to do damage from a distance. How does Kalista deal damage from a distance, though? That is the question to me. That is where I think Unified is a little bit mismatched when it comes to this comp. Maybe he was picked as that early to mid-game bridge for the team. Regardless, it's not working out.
Tank, though, getting hyper-aggressive with River nearby. It's going to be enough damage even before the collateral damage can even land. And Mission getting caught out. Tank finally on the board with a second assist. River, though, gets the kill.
Yeah, Mission actually moving up very, very far considering they had zero vision in this topside quadrant. Granted, after giving PSG the manhandling that Machi had done so across the past couple of minutes, you wouldn't expect them to full commit towards that top side of the map. But Azir, Kalista, this comp kills Baron so fast!
All right, Gemini ends up using the Q immediately. He'll come over near the wall, says, hey, what's going on here? I see a control ward. Q's gonna land, 3,000 health. All right, Gemini, is this your play? Is this your opportunity? He gets himself in, gets the kick. The Azir is actually able to secure the Baron as PSG are able to try now to walk away. Koala not able to finish it off. Mission not able to land the shockwave. And PSG running for the hills, trying to keep what they can of this Baron buff. But it looks like 5 members on the team will be able to have it now for the next 3 minutes.
5 Barons in pocket for PSG. They snuck it, they won it, and they will walk away with it. Really beautiful play from them. Really good, decisive call. We said in game 1, Azir, Kalista, kill objectives so fast. That was a 250 HP auto attack.
And Gemini, he had Smite. Unfortunately, not able to pull off the big steal like we saw back in the series on Friday. Now gives the opportunity for PSG to kind of scale a little bit back up here and try and give Tank more opportunity to get some items.
To be fair, that big steal was shortly followed by the big int, so if I'm trading away one of those for the other, I'll take it any day of the week. And honestly, I think that would have been a lot more of a tall order had Kalista not been nerfed a couple of years ago, so that the Ren does half damage to monsters now.
Nonetheless,
some players still aren't used to that, by the way, which is why you see pros miss the Ren so often.
Kaiwing gonna get caught out here as PK was able to find himself the knockout. Bruce, though, takes some decent damage. River able to get that collateral damage. PK, though, still walking forward. Gemini looking for the kill on Tank, not gonna find it. Ends up taking a lot of damage underneath the tower. Unified now joining in onto the fight. Does have Flash available. In came that cannon barrage, but it just forces out the summoners of both Mission as well as PK. He'll also burned there by Bruce.
Yeah, this insanely fed Lee Sin, this tank support Lee Sin. What is he doing for you? The answer is not a whole lot of anything right now. Mission, Bruce, these are your damage threats. These are your teamfight carries, and these are the players currently not allowed to play the game because of Cannon Barrage, because of Braum, because of the rest of PSG's comp just flourishing in the space currently being afforded to them.
So there we are. Allows PSG to try and get some vision down, and they do actually see Koala pathing through. Lots of pings coming out. Looks like Koala has an idea that this is going to happen as they go ahead. Realize they're on top of a ward. PSG, though, 10 seconds left onto this Drake. Want to try and pick this up and deny Machi a setup for Soul Point on the next spawn. Koala gets the engage, though, with the dredge line, as well as the depth charge onto many back members as Tank gets a little bit too far forward. Gemini rejoins in onto the fight. Does tag River. Hanabi on the gangplank is nearby. Does have that Trinity Force online as well as the Ionians, so has some decent damage. Bruce, though, stepping up. Speaking of damage, that 4th shot able to chunk down River to half health. And now Machi on the bot side of the River. Mission now just trying to zone away Hanabi to the best of his abilities. Unified not afraid to step up to clear out a ward, but it looks like a little bit of a standstill here in the River.
Barrage just came up, so maybe we see PSG actually making a play for a contest. They don't have that Baron anymore, they don't have that free push, but they do have a good team fight. The issue is Mission Shockwave dictates this fight. If Machi land that, they win this.
Let's see, Tank looking for a way in. Hanabi on a flank now, looking to set that up. Cannon Barrage goes down, in comes that cannon, and Bruce gets tagged immediately. Another barrel combo comes through. Gemini not able to land back the kick. Kaiwing gets taken on down. Mission ended up using his shockwave, but now River's gonna get tagged. Tank needs to use the Emperor's Divide. He needs to help out Unified, but the Kalista just gets taken down, and Tank goes running back to mid lane.
And Tank doesn't get to play that fight because Mission is so good. The shockwave came through, the Orianna damage came through, and even if it looks suspect, even if Bruce started that fight out at like 20% health, even if the Cannon Barrage was good, okay, that Krug literally saved Hanabi's life, nice, happy days for the top laner PSG, but sad faces all around for everybody else. Yes, they get the Infernal, but they lose a lot of their momentum, and suddenly this comeback team fight becomes a lot less likely.
And you saw there, if you're Hanabi right now, you're a little frank with your team at the moment. You were able to get, what, 2 barrel combos off onto the back line of Bruce, and your team ends up just getting caught out by 1 Orianna Shockwave, and it ends up costing you that fight. They are, like you mentioned, able to walk away with that second dragon into their back pocket. They're able to delay the Infernal Soul point for Machi, but now Machi, stuff is starting to come online. You see Mission and Bruce able to output some decent damage. We have a Spellbinder build coming out from Mission, so he's looking for that big burst off this next fight.
That is the EU solo queue Orianna special there. Febiven from Misfits actually popularized it back in spring. A lot of burst, a lot of sustained damage. And honestly, while it isn't quite at the same level as DPS as Azir Kalista, this Jhin Orianna dual threat can just turn a fight on its head in the blink of an eye, or rather, the blink of a shockwave. Look for Gemini to set up the engage, look for the rest of Machi to set this up, and look for the carries to deliver time and time again.
Well, you saw there Koala fishing for a dredge line, not going to find it. The tower gone down is only just the Azir tower from tank. That's going to disappear here within about a minute. PSG, though, looking to try and set up what they can back around this Baron as it rejoins us on the Rift for the second time here in Game 2. PSG, though, looking to set up a trap. In comes Unified with the Fate's Call, able to get the knock up onto Koala, and there you go. And now a teleport. Oh, that's dangerous. Is it Mission? He gets the Shockwave, but he gets instantly obliterated as Tank gets the shutdown, and that is a massive misplay coming out from the mid lane of Machi.
And Machi, they win the fights convincingly, but they throw it away again. How can you get the Miracle Smite steal against Kalista, against Graves, against Azir? There is no chance for Gemini to pull this one off, and there is no chance for Machi to make up for that massive fumble yet again. This is anyone's game now, and PSG are living for it.
And PSG now find themselves their second Baron of the game, which, in all honesty, Gemini's face cam kind of speaks wonders for me. He's kind of going, all right, I'm 5-0-3. What's gone wrong? Now we do see, for the side of Machi, a bit of a reset, you could say, the very least here. As you need to try and refocus yourself. It looked so good in the early game for Gemini and the rest of the squad. Now, though, PSG Talon with second Baron in hand, going to go ahead, take down that second tier tower into the bot lane. Hanabi at least trying to do the same himself, and there you go, picking up a lot of free standing gold on this map.
And this is where the PSG composition truly comes into its own. We said it doesn't really have engage, it likes to front-to-back team fight. So what you do is you start up the neutral objectives, you start up these sieges onto towers, onto inhibs, onto all of that good stuff, and you force the enemy to come to you. You force Machi to respond to you, and their engage on you lets you play front-to-back, use your Brawl Mult to create space, use your Cannon Barrage, use all of that to really hammer home and compensate for the fact that you don't have any conditional engage of your own.
So here we go. Infernal now going to be spawning in about 4 seconds on the side of PSG, and already have themselves set up now for this third dragon. And now we're looking towards Soul Point off the next spawn. That's a very quick and easy take. Machi, unfortunately, because he did lose out on those two members in mid, can't really trade back for a Baron on the top side of the map. Nothing really available to them to take. And PSG are able to get a quick reset without really anything lost, and that's going to be about a 3,000 Baron buff power play coming out here with 30 seconds remaining.
Yeah, definitely do look at Machi as having thrown away that game on a silver platter. This Dragon Soul is the point where Machi now need to make that hard commitment and say, look, PSG, we will stop you in your tracks. But that, again, is where PSG's comp thrives. They love it. They love when Machi comes towards them, comes to fight them. Suddenly you take a barrel chain for half your health. You take Azir free casting on you. Yeah, Kalista still struggles to play this game, but with the solo lane carries, Hanabi's scoreline be damned, this game should very well be in PSG's control.
Tank again, just pushing up. You see a lot of pressure coming out from PSG. They say, all right, that's a pretty low health bar on toward the top side of the map. When it comes to this tower, Hanabi already setting up the wave. A little bit late to the party, but nonetheless, it should be able to crash. We'll see if Machi looks to respond. Meanwhile, they are able to get that tower, but of course that was just the Azir tower in mid lane. Machi got to be careful how far they push up here, because they are just going to lose a lot of pressure toward the top side of the map, and second tier tower is just going to get taken.
Yeah, Machi now in full defensive, but what can they do to stop the 5-man? Again, this is what we said. PSG, if they force onto objectives, force onto towers, make Machi come to you, suddenly your comp that lacks engage has ways into forcing legitimate fights. Again, that kind of reference I made back on Friday. If the gold graph was a roller coaster, it would kill everybody on board because it's up, down between two extremes.
The G's a little bit heavy, a little bit too much whiplash, you could say, between these two squads. Do note, though, Mission has had a pretty big spike on the most recent back. Did finish off his Rabadons, did get it upgraded by PK. PK himself becoming a pretty tanky boy with that Warmogs now being completed. On top of that Sunfire, and oh, the dredge line coming out from Koala. Ends up not finding its target, though. Bruce also speaking about people who've come online. That's going to be the current call used. Going to be ate up, though, immediately by Kaiwing. Able to do not a whole lot of damage, as he has finished off at least his Molten Edge with that upgrade coming in from PK.
Yeah, and just looking at the itemization we're seeing, it's just strict damage for Machi's carriers, because, yeah, it's all about the burst for them. While you look at the Redemption, the Leandries, even the Blade, which is, of course, very standard here, it's all about prolonged fights for PSG. It's about drawing it out for as long as possible and getting into a good position for these long, drawn-out team fights. You weather that initial burst of the fight from Machi, and then you just play your own game. Have Azir right-click, Kalista right-click, GP barrel. It's all good for PSG as long as they don't instantly die in that next fight.
I have a quick question here for you, Abriz. What if you are PSG right now, what's a little bit more important to you? Is it going to be this next dragon, the Infernal Soul, or do you want to try and pick up your third Baron of the game? What would you rather have here when it comes to these fights?
Genuinely, I believe that the Soul is almost always the way to go here. I think PSG have enough wave clear without the Baron to be okay. Mission!
Kaiwing showing a little bit too early, maybe. Mission was making a beeline. Luckily, the rest of his squad is there. As PSG, again, looking to set up that Death Rush, but does not pay out this time.
PSG's comp needs to be on the objective first if they want to contest. Again, they have really, really poor straight-up engage, and they do kind of suck when it comes to just picking a fight on their terms. But if Machi can get the engage off, and PSG live through it, then they can win the fight. As long as you disengage heavily enough that Azir can still do reliable damage, that GP can get off at least one barrel chain or a good cannon barrage, PSG are fine.
Take a look here, though. Top of your screen, you're going to see Gemini looking for a flank. War does go down by Kaiwing, so PSG will be able to spot him out. Also on top of the control ward now. So having an idea of where this Lee Sin is going to be. Machi still positioning toward the top side of the map, looking for a possible Baron play if they are able to find it. PSG, though, like you mentioned, might be just opting to go for this Infernal Soul. Would have 3 stacks of the Infernal on top of that to boot for the extra little bit of damage. Mission, though, still just hugging around the outside of these walls, hoping to get a good Shockwave off.
Yeah, definitely do look for Shockwave to really define this fight. We said Machi, they have the burst, they have that front-loaded team fight. If the fight is extended, if it goes on, the DPS is so good for PSG. And PSG setting up for this Baron. We said they need to make Machi come towards them. That's exactly what they're going to do here.
Gets the engage. Kaiwing gets chunked down pretty low. Call the Forge God is going to be used. And there you go. Get the knock up onto tank as well as the depth charge. Kern Call is used. Cannon Barrage also there for the disengage. And Machi cannot resume the chase as PSG are able to create a distance between the two squads.
Honestly, not too terrible for Machi here. Yes, they blew the Forge God. Yes, they blew the depth charge on an Azir that didn't even have to flash. But at the same time, they got the big disengage ults. Only the Emperor's Divide remains, and it could still be another fight here.
Bruce, though, able to solo the Infernal. PSG not able to get good ward coverage, it seems. Another engage onto Kaiwing. Got to be a little bit careful of himself. Mission able to put down the ball, but cannot get it into the backline for the Shockwave. PK wants to look for the cutoff here. Call the Forge God going to be available in about 15-20 seconds. As Machi, again, Bruce starting to hit like a truck here on this Jhin. And PSG aren't able to really respond here, and the lack of vision starting to hit them rather hard.
PK, my unsung hero in that regard, by the way, because we now see him with the sweeper to compensate for the fact that Lee Sin likes to hold on to the yellow ward trinket for as long as possible, so he still has places to jump to. Looking at Machi's inventories, besides that infamous trinket slot, pretty well-rounded, honestly. You have about as defensive a Jhin build as you could possibly get. Bruce, fairly wary of the fact that he has enough damage at this point. He's gonna get smushed if this Azir gets on top of him without the defensive itemization. So, yeah, I respect it, even if it does mean Machi's front-loaded burst win condition is banking on mission.
Engage comes out, though, from Koala. It's going to be a two-man Shockwave. River gets caught out, but he is able to get himself back into stasis. Now onto that front line is PK. Bruce, though, is untouched during this entire fight, but now no tank available for the side of Machi. It's going to be a 2-for-1 in favor of PSG.
Yeah, PK actually not using either of his combat sums there. Swapped out the Flash and TP for Ignite Exhaust. Didn't drop either of them, instead dropped himself. And now PSG, without a frontline for Machi, could find this.
They are still going to try this, though. Look at Mission's cooldown. That's going to be that big sweep coming in from Tank. Finally finds the Shurima shuffle in his favor. Gemini gets himself over the wall. Bruce going down low. It's going to be Tank, though, on the chase once more. Bruce trying to turn it back, but it's not going to happen. Gemini now onto this Baron. Can he actually tag it? It's too late. That's going to be PSG finding multiple members of Machi and the Baron for a third time in game 2.
Gemini nearly making the magic happen there, but it is Machi who do kind of walk away the losers of that one. Yes, it looked like a good attempt to take this fight, considering they were down 2 frontliners, but at the same time, Tank comes up huge. We waited an entire split's worth of middling Azir games from this top-level mid laner, and yet he shows up when he needs to. That Emperor's Divide that didn't come out in the Dragon fight, that infamous Emperor's Divide that didn't come out 3, 4, 5, 10 Nexuses ago when that AHQ tiebreaker broke PSG's heart, it came now. He landed it, and he did so much work.
Gets the shutdown onto Mission. Hanabi also picks up that extra little bit of gold. He saw Unify, not afraid to just jump into the face of Bruce. Maybe realizes that was a mistake, and at that point too, unfortunately, Gemini so low cannot try and go for a steal outside of a miracle Q steal. And there you are, PSG now with a 5,000 gold advantage. Baron in hand. Gemini goes for a little bit of a ride there with the Blast Cone. Gets himself, though, back to safety with the safeguard.
Hanabi dealing a fair chunk of damage now as well. You saw that minion wave, 1,100 crits in a big AoE from this barrel. No wonder Bruce now has to build full defensively. Look at Mission just to get 2 hit with this fully squishy burst committal build. And suddenly Machi there again just banking on a miracle. Either a steal from Gemini, a really beautiful knock-up from PK, or that highlight reel worthy shockwave that we have yet to see from Mission so far this game.
Well, there you go, PSG. Now looking to knock on the doorstep of Machi's base. Feels like they're back into the driver's seat. Still requires them, though, to play these team fights rather well. Cannot look to make a mistake. There's still that possibility that Mission can turn the tides with just one simple shockwave onto multiple members of PSG. 40 seconds now onto this Infernal spawn. Hanabi going to teleport into the mid lane just to make sure he is in time for the spawn. As you see Machi looking to try and get a push in through mid.
PK actually up top, no TP in his inventory quite yet, so PSG, they could fish for something, but as we said, They have no strict hard engage. They're waiting for Machi to face check their Death Bush. They're waiting for a committal towards the Soul Drake and PSG. They have the setup to fight this.
Koala goes again onto that hook. In comes that cannon barrage, waiting for that barrel combo. Not going to land, though, onto Hanabi. Depth charge used by Koala to just zone him back. But Tank, the damage from the Azir, able to pierce into the back line of Machi, and it forces them to have to back off. PSG looking for the cut. River looking for the Infernal Soul.
And again, you're seeing the strength of Tank's Azir when it is the only AP threat on its team. Force the enemy to build strict armor as their defensive stat. No magic resistance sight, and it means this Azir's true damage, 5.5 items in, can 2-hit anyone.
And it gets a lot more disgusting once that Rabadon's is also completed to round out this build for Tank. PSG, though, still needs to finish this off. That's also kind of the asterisk right now. For Machi, there is still that possibility that they can find themselves a Miracle team fight off a Miracle Shockwave from Mission. Maybe a member of PSG gets caught out. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the case here, as it does look like we will be going to the next neutral objective, being the 4th Baron of the game.
The 4th Baron's really gonna be a point of contention for his TP. Hanabi
gonna get caught out. Did end up using the orange immediately. Looking to try and get himself back to safety. It's gonna be the exhaust coming out. Mission able to get some decent damage. In comes Gemini to finish off the kill. It's a 4v5 now, but here comes PSG on the response. Was it used? No! Shockwave! It's a 3-man Shockwave from Mission into a 3-man knockup from PK. Tank ends up using the Emperor's Divide, but it's to no avail. It can't stop Dan auto attacks, and Machi find the ace!
Gemini went for the recall and saw Mission's 1v9 power play. The Shockwave lines up all of PSG. Bruce finally deals the damage we were hoping for, and Machi's carries show up huge!
And Machi just steal away game 2 off one simple Shockwave from Mission, and now are at match point heading into game 3 and looking to fight back and take back the championship they lost in spring.
Steal away a game 2 that they gave away like 6 times, by the way, but hey, we live and learn. Yeah, honestly, stealing that one back after... They had no right to win that. You know they had no right to win that, and yet everything lines up.
Also, what an insane game. This game, I just see lots and lots of mistakes, especially from Machi. There's 2 or 3 times where Mission got caught before the Baron spawned. That was so grave mistakes. Like, they were ahead, so ahead, and then they gave PSG so many chances. And for me, I feel that PSG should really change the way they play the game. They have been sacrificing their bot lane too much. They have been sacrificing Unified and Kairing for them to both roam and help the jungle a lot, help the mid lane, help to get the Herald. And I think they should change back to their old playstyle, which is Unified on carry, either Jhin or Ezreal. I think both are good picks. And just let Kairing roam alone.
I mean, even here, just seeing the fact that you had that 3-man supportive unit of River, Kaiwing, and Unified, just trying to pick up the pieces of that pretty awful power play. And yeah, Gemini gets MVP because, you know, he actually did a lot of work early. That Shockwave was beautiful. Yes, it turned the game, but the reason why the game was a game was because this Lee Sin did so much work early. And even if he rushed Knight's Vow, we do respect the Machi jungler.
That Shockwave was just stupidly... That for me is the MVP. That Shockwave alone was the MVP that turned back this game. And I was getting scared there from Machi. The amount they used to catch out Hanabi's gangplank, I'm like, oh, they're not going to have any ultimates left to fight. But all it took was one from Mission, 3 members of PSG. Unfortunately, Tank, he wasn't really ready to get into the fray to try and go for that massive Shurima shuffle once more. And just like that, Machi from the jaws of defeat, able to just reach back out and take home game 2, and now sit at match point. They are able to close out this series here in our next game up against PSG. And Oh, PSG, that's got to be heartbreaking to feel that close at that point in Game 2 after such a long pause.
Yeah, I think PSG really need to change something, either their play style or their plan pick. They have been giving PK his best champion on, PK only plays good on, and you're giving him his best champion.
And Aatrox.
Oh, okay, we don't talk about the Aatrox, the Bridge. We are, though, going to talk about more once we come back from our quick break. Again, Machi now looking to take home the Summer Crown with one more victory as they now head into Game 3 at match point.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.